What is going on, guys? Joey here, coming to you from the car. Really want to stay on top of my videos this week, and today I am bringing you a video that I was thinking about making because I heard a phrase that went something along the lines of perfection is the enemy of good enough. When I thought about this, I thought there are so many powerlifters that try to strive for perfect when in reality they are doing enough. They're actually in the sweet spot. They're actually doing what they should be doing, but they're putting that aside to try to be perfect or chase something that they already have. Let me break it down a little bit. Let's just use technique as an example. I heard something the other day. I think it was like a snippet from Joe Rogan or something. I'm not entirely sure. But they had somebody on and he was basically saying something along the lines of there's not really any bad way to do a movement because the body has proven to adapt to like any kind of way that you expose it to stress. It will adapt and it will figure it out. Two examples. If you deadlift with a straight back all the time, and then all of a sudden with the same loads, you start deadlifting with the round back, you're probably, or like heavier loads, you're probably, that's my car. You're probably going to hurt your back. But if you start with really light weight and you deadlift with the round back, and then you go gradual progressive overload, and you go a little bit more, and you go a little bit more, and then you deload, and then a little bit more, you could probably deadlift with the round back and be just fine. And an example, I don't think throwing a baseball at 90 miles an hour is like a good thing for your shoulders. I don't think anyone's going to say that, right? But there are like baseball players that have very successful careers doing it. You could say the same thing about throwing a football. You could say the same thing about, a lot of different sports where you're doing some kind of Olympic weightlifting is probably not the best thing for your shoulders, just the whole entire area, right? It's just not. But you can do it for a little while pain-free, at the Olympic level, at the highest levels. There's, if you talk to any really, really high-end weightlifter, they're going to have all kinds of injuries, probably some knee problems, probably some back problems, some shoulders, neck, whatever, right? Powerlifting is a little different because it's more controlled, and you're kind of in control of the mundane movements that we're doing. It's not like where if you're hitting something, you might just hit it wrong one time and tear something bad, right? Whereas like in powerlifting, I think in my entire career, I only tore my adductor once, and it was like a very small spot, and it wasn't really a big deal, and I still squatted 750 that meet. But I chose to take a very aggressive approach, right? That was 5 years ago. What I know now, over 5 years ago, I would not do that. Actually, no, it was 4 years ago. I would have done things a different way. But that's just how I chose to do it, right? And I literally don't regret it, which is weird. But you can do this sport and just like never really get hurt or tear anything. And I think one thing that I've really, when you think perfection, right? Because that's the focus of the video. You think doing enough for the meet, doing enough to have the perfect result, the best meet possible, right? How do we do that? Specificity, right? So you can kind of get caught in this vortex of I need to be doing the comp lifts because I need to be better, when now I'm much more like, okay, let's add a little bit more variety. We're farther out from the meet. Let's get some safety bars, some high bars, some front squats, some leg press, some whatever. Let's not get super stale on those lifts. Let's not let those hips get tight. Let's not let the back get tight, things like that. And let's put ourselves in a good position, longevity wise, which, obviously I have lifters here for many years. I've been working with Russ for like 7 years now. So, like Russ 7, Jesus almost 5, Keiko more than that, like 6 or something like that. Right? It's Amanda, long time, you guys get me, right? But this idea of perfection, I think it makes sense why people would think that way, but it's not your form thing, the form thing. Your form is not going to be like perfect, right? When people say textbook, you can kind of, squat in a way that may look pretty, and people will say, oh, that's a textbook squat. But in reality, you could have a super ugly squat and it could be an amazing squat, and you can build, many, many, many big squats that way, right? As someone who's built, many world record squatters across different sizes and weights and all kinds of things like that. Everybody kind of does it a little different. There is like some trends, right? There's some characteristics that people have that are more sort of biased to having a durable squat. And I think that durability is what allows good progress. Also, like me, I just grow muscle on my legs really easy. That's just me. But there are definitely people that aren't necessarily built to squat and they have good squats, right? They fold like tacos when they squat, but they have really good squats. And that's just, like I said, you could have bad form doing something, but if you do it, progressively overload, give the body a chance to adapt, things like that, the body can figure it out. I bet you if you took someone that did a guillotine bench press, right? They're benching like elbows up super high and they didn't go crazy heavy and they gave their body enough time to adapt to that position, I guarantee you they would be really good at it, right? And that's a very eye-opening thing. It just kind of throws out the whole concept of we make whatever form we can do safely work for us, right? Obviously, one technique is going to be safer than the other. But, another example of perfection kind of working against you is how much work should you be doing? If you're fatigued, but you think I need to keep pushing through that fatigue because I need to do this weight or I'm going to have a bad meet and I need to add weight every week, whatever. Absolutely not. You need to deload when you have sufficiently overloaded, right? When you have sufficiently caused fatigue, you need to deload, right? In the context of like a meet prep or whatever it is that you're doing. And this is something that over the years I've grown very sensitive to, watching lifters, just asking them, how are you feeling? How did you feel coming into this day? Right? Some lifters, they're a bull. They're just going to keep going. They're not going to, it's very hard to get them to chill out. If I give them the option to do, 2 different weights, they're taking the higher number. It's not even a question, right? If I put a range in the RPE, they're doing the higher RPE. It just is what it is, because they think that's going to lead them, to kind of like a better result. When in reality, it's you just need to do enough. You need to do enough to move you to where you want to go. Now, there are times when you can operate in the red zone, and I think it can be beneficial. But the longer that you're in that red zone, you're playing with fire, right? You're risking something bad happening. You're risking an injury or whatever. And that's why perfect, right? What is perfect? It's not more. It's not like too little. It's like enough. Same thing with diet, right? People that over diet, they diet super hard. If you're dieting super hard, then you'll lose weight, but then you're gonna hit a wall. And now if you spent all your chips in the beginning of the diet, where are you gonna go now? If you start your squat program and you're squatting 48 times a week, you're gonna go 50 times a week, right? So you guys get what I'm saying? Shit, you could tie this into anything in life. You could tie this into relationships, lifters and coaches, right? You have a good coach, you're getting results, you're doing the right things, you're progressing from meet to meet, communication's good, but you see like the new shiny thing, or you have a social group and everybody in that social group kind of works with people from a certain area, and then you end up leaving when you had something that was really good, right? Same thing with relationships, right? You have a good relationship, you're happy, things are going the right way, but you leave because you want that extra 5% better, right? That you may not even guaranteed to get. I can think of examples where, and this kind of ties into another video I was thinking about, where I will I will give a lifter something that has a little bit more nuance to it, but it is essentially the same thing that they were doing before, but it looks fancier, and it's actually less work, right? But I'm almost like tricking them into thinking like, oh, like look at these, like I see percent, I see these numbers, I'm doing better. But in reality, if you're doing RPE correctly, you're almost doing the same thing, right? And that's something that it's just interesting how people are. At the end of the day, my job is to get people to where they want to go. My job is to, by any means necessary, help them get better. And a lot of that is controlling the mind and controlling what they think and what they feel and how they feel about training. What is their attitude towards training themselves? You know, I try to affect those things in a positive way. And you know, it's like the perception of something working for them is almost more important than whether or not it is. Like if a lifter believes something is like closer to perfection, it is going to be better for them than something that may actually be truly good enough. It's truly better for them, but because the perception of it, they get a better result because they believe in it more, that they're going to have higher adherence. They're just going to do things correctly. So I just thought it was a very interesting thing, and the takeaway from the video for you guys, I would really just say that if you have something that is good enough and you're getting the results that you want, and you're moving in the direction that you want, then you don't need to, like, more isn't always better, right? It's so easy to add more volume. It's like the easiest thing. Literally just one more day of volume, right? But it's not about that. It's about, you know, getting the right results and, you know, just having faith in kind of what you're doing, and really trying to see something for what it is, as opposed to seeing something with our emotions, right? Feeling something with our emotions, as opposed to like kind of staying objective and knowing like, okay, is this working for me? And I think that's why a lot of times we'll compare ourselves to when we were perfect, right? Another video topic. We'll compare ourselves to when, okay, this worked out really well for me, but we're not even looking at like, wow, my life was so different back then. I had so many things that were easier in my day-to-day life that allowed me to do that work, right? I can take a lifter that progressed on 3 times a week squat, desensitize them, maintain their strength, and then dose their training in a way that will allow them to progress doing less. And it's kind of like a screws with the mind, right? Because you're like, how is this possible? How am I getting better if I'm doing less than I was before? I need to do more to get better. You know what I mean? So anyway, I hope you guys were able to take something away from that video. If you guys, to those of you that went to the last workshop, I really appreciate it. It's always fun to do those things. I'm going to try to up the videos to twice a week, at least to the end of the year. If you guys have any questions, concerns, comments, video topics, anything at all, you could DM me, hit me up anytime at all. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.